All right, let's get started with the sixth video for this series of 2025 free agent offensive guards for the Miami Dolphins. Last part there is important because as we look at the rankings, it's not going to be how I feel about these players overall. It's going to be how I feel they fit into the Dolphins' existing scheme while also being able to help with some of the shortcomings they had in 2024. The plays that we're going to look at are short yardage run plays. So that's going to be 1 to 2 yards to go. And the reason that we're using that as our sample is that if a player can do well in those short yardage run situations, they're probably going to do pretty well in the more neutral run situations also. And while pass blocking is not the primary strength needed from Dolphins offensive linemen, it's still important. And if you can succeed in the short yardage run game, you're usually going to possess the balance and technique to hold up decently in pass protection, in my opinion. The clips that I pull, not all good, not all bad. Just tried to go through that filter and pull some of the ones that I felt were relevant. And it's not going to be the same number for every player. And these are not the only plays that I watched when forming my final opinion on these players. Will Hernandez is going to be a good example of that because he had a small sample size of only playing in 5 games in 2024. I think there was only 16 plays that fell into that filter that I just described. And of those 16 plays, there was only 4 of them that I felt were worth talking through on here. So first one here that we're going to look at. So this is inside zone to the left, and you're going to get a combination block here between the center and Hernandez up to the linebacker. And you can see that we're getting some decent movement there. Hernandez is getting off the ball, getting into that defender, really taking over that block early because the linebacker has that leverage over there. And he continues to get nice vertical movement on that one. Next play here, so still at right guard, facing you now, number 76. So it's going to be an outside zone to the left. And you can see here that Hernandez does a decent job getting out of his stance. I would like to see a little more strain at the end. You can see that the defensive tackle kind of basically took the play off there as well once it got outside the tackles. But we talk about what we want to see in the Dolphins run scheme and the ability to cut stuff back, right? You'd really prefer to see as he gets to this position that he's really pressing that up and continuing to create movement there. Facing you again here. So this again is going to be inside zone. This is going to be to the left side based on the running back's path. The combination block is going to be with the right tackle and Will Hernandez on the right side. They're comboing up to number 44. So as you can see, both of them are trying to get into number 91. And number 44 is going to make an early declaration here to go to the outside. Both of their eyes are finding 44, and the tackle is going to slide to the outside. Now, from Hernandez's perspective here, once number 44 is leaving, right, he's going to get in a good position here of getting that inside leverage, but really need to be able to widen this guy out a little bit. Same thing from the center on this side. Neither of them are able to do it, but just getting that position probably gets enough to convert in this situation. But when we're looking at ideal scenarios here, right, we'd really like to see a little more, movement from both of those guys. And then last one for these scenarios, this is going to be inside zone to the right. And same idea here, right guard, right tackle, combo through this defensive tackle up to the linebacker here. And again, linebacker is declaring early, basically the same scenario. But on this one, we can see Hernandez getting a little bit more movement there. And that's really what you want to see in these scenarios. All right, so as you can see, there's not a lot to work with in terms of a sample size with variety. So I did go back and look for some outside zone plays that fell outside of these filters. And while there was a decent sample size of outside zone to the left where Hernandez is on the backside, there was a really limited sample size of outside zone run plays to the right where he's on the front side. And I wasn't sure whether this was because of, the Cardinals not believing in Hernandez or the right tackle. They did run a lot of pin and pull where they were sealing on the outside and pulling Hernandez around the edge. And he did a good job in those situations. But I did find a couple of clips of outside zone plays that I wanted to share. So this is going to be outside zone to the left, right? And as you can see here, he does a good job getting out of his stance, gives a little bit of help on the backside there, and gets to the next level. I wouldn't call this a spectacular play by any means. I mean, his main goal here is to make that second level defender chase around the backside, which he does, and he's helped by the motion there. Um, but not a huge concern from the backside of outside zone here. But when we look at the front side, so this is going to be an outside zone to the right, and you can see that decent job getting out of his stance here, right? Everything is looking the way that you want it, but he's kind of high and ends up getting driven back into the tight end, right? Once he's in this position, well, not this position, but a step before this, right? You really want to see him be able to press this upfield to create that lane there, and we're just not getting that from Hernandez. And we talked about this some as we looked at the different types of blocks when reviewing the Dolphins 2024 grades. That not every block is equal, and they use different techniques, different strengths, stuff like that. So there is some concern from my perspective in both the amount of times that the Cardinals ran outside zone to the right, as well as the execution, uh, you know, by Hernandez going to the right. With that in mind, as we're looking at the rankings here, right? So we're kind of developing, I would say, almost three tiers of players, right? We got Makari, Banks, and Jenkins are three players that I really like and I like in this system. We got Trey Smith here, who I like, but I feel like there are, some issues with him in this system. And then Mekhi Becton, who, based on the film that we looked at, I don't think he's a great fit. So Hernandez, for me, is going to fall between Smith and Becton. And my reason for that is that I feel like, again, we're talking about these players if they were all coming at the same exact dollar amounts. Like if you told me that I could have Trey Smith for 20 million or I could have Will Hernandez for 3 million, I'm going to go with Hernandez. But if you told me that they're both coming in at 10 million, then I'm going to go with Trey Smith because I think there's more tools there. I think there's more upside in this system. Will Hernandez, I think that, a lot of people are, like the idea of trying to do what the Rams did in terms of getting those big guards that are more geared toward the inside zone. And I think if that's the way that you're looking at it, that Will Hernandez would be a great fit in the system that you're picturing. I don't see the Dolphins necessarily going that heavily to the inside zone stuff. And, maybe I'll discuss that on a different podcast, the background of why I feel that way. But based on that, I don't feel that Will Hernandez is a great outside zone guard. And I think that that's something that's still going to be important in the Dolphins offense. So, for those reasons, and again, we're not factoring in with these rankings the contract, the background, the injury status, which are all factors for these guys. This is just if these players were all available, they were all the same exact dollar amount, and they were on the field, this is how I would rank these players in the Dolphins system. As always, hope you guys are enjoying these videos. Hope you guys continue watching. And if there's anything that I can improve on with them, feel free to let me know.